Henry Cejudo has achieved everything that he essentially could have achieved in this sport. What is the point of making this comeback tour, this revenge tour, after suffering a couple losses?
I think the biggest thing, brother, is
AJ, last time we were at UFC Seattle, dog, I was still in high school, man. I know that might make you feel a little bit old, bro, but it's been quite a while, and they're looking to make some new traction in the bantamweight division up in the good old Pacific Northwest. How you feeling, brother?
Brother, I am feeling great, Derick. I'm excited to be back in UFC Seattle. I mean, we were talking about it before at the start of the year. UFC is starting to make the moves where we're going to bigger events, going to places we haven't been to in a while. I'm happy to see it getting back in the motion.
And I'm interested too, right? Because when you've been deprived of UFC entertainment in real life, right? Who knows? The fans might pop. Like, it might be a different atmosphere than a Vegas pay-per-view, Florida pay-per-view, you know, whatever the case may be. So, I mean, a lot of interesting storylines to talk about here today. I want to just open it up because I know normally we just go straight into recap and get this show on the road, but let's open it up right here, man. Henry Cejudo has achieved everything that he essentially could have achieved in this sport, and he's Triple C, right? Olympic wrestling, we know this. Listen, we don't have to go through the cringe. At this point, for an athlete of his caliber, what else is there to prove? Like, what is the point of making this comeback tour, this revenge tour, after suffering a couple losses?
I think the biggest thing, Derick, because you're right, he hit all the attainable marks that somebody would want to. I think the biggest thing, brother, is ego. You're going out on top. You're the big dog. You don't want somebody else to take what you have because you have that ego going forward. I think that's a lot of what he's fighting for right here.
That's why you always say if a fighter retires, you never believe them, because you know that they're going to come back, because there's no high that is the high of winning a fist fight, I'm sure, in front of thousands of fans. All right, folks, with that being said, UFC Seattle, the breakdown, that's coming up here in a bit. But before we jump into it, you know we need to break down what happened last week, and we got a lot to cover here, so let's not mince any words. All right, AJ, first thing that we're going to talk about is the consensus picks for UFC Vegas 102. 3-2. Not terrible. Not terrible, but not fantastic. Two big misses, man. Adolfo Vieira and Gregory Rodriguez. And Gregory Rodriguez, limelight was a little bit too big, man. I think the limelight was a little bit too big on this one because this was a very winnable fight, but the experience of Jared Cannonier, it showed. It showed up and it showed out, brother. What were your thoughts on that?
Limelight was too big, Derick, and the gas tank was too small. You saw when he hurt Cannonier in that first round, put all the effort into actually finishing him, and then second round comes, he starts getting wobbly, starts big breaths going. I was happy for a moment, and then really started to see how the gears started to fall off.
Not good for the division, right? To bring one round of cardio to a 5-round fight. I mean, you're a 40-year-old Jared Cannonier and you're turning down the new contenders of the division. Not good for the division. I mean, this is how divisions stagnate, kind of, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, we talked about it. There's a stat out there. If you're 35 and older in these divisions, more often than not, you're losing. I mean, Jared Cannonier, good for him for sticking around and still being that outside of that rule. But now, man, who else? Like, what else are we looking to see if the newcomers can't come in and then show out better than the old dogs? It's an interesting thought.
Yeah, dude, Cannonier is even like all the guys ahead of me. They've all beaten me. So, I mean, I got to fight somebody else below my number because that's how the division shakes out. So, it is what it is, man. Let's talk about the good. Yusuf Zalal, Edmund Shabazian, and Jose Delgado, which didn't really count because it eventually got bumped off of the main card, but we tracked it. So, that's going to be a win in our books right there. 3 big wins right here. And then, AJ, for the week right here, looks like I got the job done. 4-2 on this one. Really, the big one was going to be my dog of the week. The man who I said, AJ, I said 9 out of 10 times Bonfim wins, but this is going to be the one time where I think Sadikov gets it done. Picture perfect question mark kick to I don't know, you explain what happened right there, man. TKO, like, he was good, but he couldn't see. It was a kind of a confusing spot. What'd you think?
It was kind of a confusing spot because you saw him talking to the doctor, right? Like, oh, I can't see. I think they even said it after the round where he was saying, like, I can't see. You take that seriously, right? You don't want people losing eyesight in there, so absolutely the fight should be stopped. But then to have the big reaction that Bonfim did after, where he's slamming his fists on the ground, like saying he was good, it didn't look that way. I mean, I didn't see that question mark kick coming. Nonetheless, Bonfim didn't see that question mark kick coming. And sure enough, he wasn't able to see after it. It was an interesting way to end the fight. Rough one for Bonfim.
Rather be lucky than to be good, and we got off on a good one this time around. So AJ almost evened up, but this is close. This means we're being competitive. That also means we're sticking to our word of the proposed goal, accuracy goal, 70% and plus. So for me, 4-2 on the week, 16-9-1, 64% accuracy, and you are leading the way, 3-3 on the week, but 17-8-1, 68% accuracy. All right, brother, the Bloody Water podcast ain't too bad, huh? All right, folks, last couple ones right here. AJ, this is the one sad spot for you. Props. Edmund Shabazi and TKO. I'll take my victory lap on that one, folks. That's the most confident I've been on a prop all year, and that was the easiest call of the year, in my opinion. So I hope he cashed it at plus 125 because I was stealing candy from a baby. Bonfim, decision. Again, bad break. Like I said, 9 out of 10 times, Bonfim probably gets the job done, but you make that bet again, right?
Oh, absolutely make that bet again. Make that bet on his next fight as well, folks. We missed on this one, though. Sorry.
All right, key takeaways, 8 of the 12 fights, 66.7% hit the over, decision fest. Some finishes, don't get me wrong. 6 of the 12 fights did end in a finish, so a little bit of a misleading stat. 4 knockouts, 2 submissions, and only 3 dogs cashed on the card, Cannonier, Sadikov, and Petrosky. These are using the opening lines right there, folks. So that's your UFC Vegas 102 recap, but now let's get into what matters, UFC Seattle. All right, AJ, this is an interesting one. We've had a lot of consensus picks over the last couple of weeks, and generally speaking, we do. Great minds think alike, but not this week. All right, man. Song Yadong and John Silva. Those are our 2 consensus picks. Means that there are a lot of contentious picks. We're not even going to cover it. Just know, folks, Bloody Water Podcast consensus, Song Yadong, John Silva. Prop locks. AJ, talk to him.
Ooh, prop locks right here, Derick. I'm rocking with Basharat by decision, folks, at minus 145. Tall, technical, well-rounded. Wherever his opponent, Ricky Simon, wants to take this fight, Basharat is highly skilled in it. Only 4 of his fights have gone to decision, but all of them have been in the UFC. Make sure you got this one highlighted.
Quietly, Basharat has not won a fight since 2023, man. So he needs to get back in action if he wants to regain that momentum. I like the pick. I'm going John Silva versus Melsik Baghdasaryan over 1.5 rounds at minus 175. I've thought about this a lot, folks. I even had a different prop lock that I had to switch up because I was like, you know what? Something is calling my name right here. I'll talk about it a little bit more later, but just so you have the bet sheet, there we go right there. And folks, that's pretty much everything that we're going to cover for right now. So now it's time to get into the main card. But before we do it, if you haven't taken a moment to subscribe, we're almost 4,000 subscribers deep here on the Bloody Water Podcast. We love each and every single one of you guys. But I want to take a quick moment, AJ. You remember, right? It wasn't that long ago, man. It was like, dude, we got 400 subscribers, man. We're killing it. Look, we're global. Realistically, think about 400 people in a room in front of you that you have to give a speech to. You'd be freaking out. We all would. So we appreciate you, but it's not too late to join the army. AJ, what you got on them, right? It's not too late to join the Bloody Water. What are we, the army, the militia? What are we?
The money-making mafia, folks. It's never too late to join up right here. And I'm telling you what, you win some money on us, you go ahead, buy your significant other something nice, but make sure you let them know it's from the Bloody Water Podcast, and that's where you're getting the most money week in, week out.
BWP boys, we got you on lock. All right, man, now time for some value. We're done with all of the hype, done with all the marketing.
Here's to another main card breakdown, courtesy of your hosts, Derick G and AJ.
Henry Cejudo, Song Yadong. That's the fight that we got to talk about. And the first thing that I want to bring up before we jump into anything else is this opening line, man. Triple C is a dog. Plus 230 dog at open, minus 280 comeback there for Song Yadong. If I'm looking at it right now, line has not shifted much, man. A lot of confidence in Song. All right, we have a wrestler, we have a striker. You got age differential of, what are we, about 10 years age gap. Listen, 37, 38 years old for Henry Cejudo. Just be real with me, man. What can he do, in the bantamweight division at this elevated age?
Elevated age, I mean, I think the big thing, Derick, is pulling off miracles, right? We've seen how Henry Cejudo has been fighting. Doesn't look like he still has that same stamina, same pressure, same willingness to just dominate fights, or has same ability, probably has the willingness. But with how the talent pool has risen, it's hard to keep up with these young dogs, man, especially 38 years old. Like, he's getting up there in age, especially for a fighter. I think the biggest thing is just going to be pulling off surprises, making people realize that he still is at the top of his own game, and hopefully his game is a little higher than everybody else's.
Now, no rules are absolute, right? The two 40-year-olds that we had on the card last week, Angela Hill and Cannonier, they won. right? So against all odds, I mean, against the young guns too. So Cejudo has a real chance, has the experience edge, has the grappling edge, and he has the IQ edge, in my opinion, right here, man. I think Song, the real edge that he have, look at his team, man. Team Alpha Male. You know you're training with just wrestlers, nonstop, dudes who are looking to take you down. So I think that's the big key, man. If Cejudo can't get the takedown, I think that this can be a mauling on the feet. The question is, how bad of a mauling? If you're Song, I mean, if you're listening to what Song has been saying, he says, I'm retiring this man this weekend, man. Seattle, I hope you enjoy the show because that's going to be it for the Triple C. Let's talk about the betting implications on this one before we talk about any more analytics right here. 4.5 is the over. And if you're Cejudo and you think that if you're betting Cejudo and you think that his path to victory is wrestle, grapple, extend the fight, then we probably want to hit the over. But I feel like if you're a Song bettor, you have to think about under 4.5. What are your thoughts on it?
Oh, you absolutely have to think under 1 or under 4.5 if you're a Song bettor right here, folks. We've seen, and I alluded to it earlier, Henry Cejudo starts off strong, but if he isn't able to get in his pocket, other people start to catch up, right? The pace slows a little bit, the aggression slows a little bit, and if you do that against Song, that is a powerful striker and able to defend stuff, you're shooting 4, 5, 6 takedowns in the first round, you're going to be gassed. You're going to be looking like Rodriguez in the last fight, right? Breathing heavy, tired a little bit, and then that's when Song can get to work right here. 4.5, you're almost all the way through the fight, got 2.5 minutes left. Seems like a lot of eyes are pointing towards that under if you're a Song bettor right here.
The other hard part about it, though, man, is if you look at the last 2 losses, people are giving Cejudo a ton of, they're giving him some flack on it, right? It's Merab and it's Aljamain Sterling. I mean, come on, bro. Literally the last 2 champions of the bantamweight division, and people are saying, Song is going to wash this dude. Here's my first problem. My first problem is that Song is such a high ticket price. I mean, close to minus 300. I find it hard to bet that as a pure money line type value until Triple C really gets starched. If I see him get knocked out by one of these young up-and-coming dudes or whatever, all right, these numbers are warranted, and this is going to be a theme on some of the other fights that we talk about where the lines are just a little odd, man. Where do we find value here? If you, aside from totals, right? If we're looking at props, that's the plays that we have to make. Where are we finding the value here?
For the value here, if you're a Cejudo bettor, absolutely plus 325 decision, right? If he's able to get Song down on the ground, control him, just be an absolute blanket, sit him down, keep him down the entire fight, and not let Song control distance and actually evade. Man, plus 325 cash, especially for a minus 215 dog plus 215 dog that Cejudo is right now. That's a lot of money right there. And I wouldn't be like the money line. Yeah, sure, it is what it is. I don't really like it. But as far as Song, if you're looking to make money, plus 205 TKO prop, I can see that happening all day long. Not saying it's going to. I mean, I don't know the last time Cejudo was knocked out, but he has all the abilities. Song has all the abilities to be able to find those moments and go get some work done.
Yeah, and really quickly, I'm just going to pull it up just to see. TKO losses, 1 TKO loss in his entire career, and when you pull it up, oh, that's right, it was Mighty Mouse. Remember when Mighty Mouse gave him the knee, gave him the quick flurry? Yeah, 2016, dog. So this was almost 10 years ago is the last time that he's been finished. So I do think that the knockout is probably going to be the most probable. I think the power is very, very clear on this Song side. If he catches you a couple good times and Cejudo can't get that takedown in, we're going to have some problems. But this could fraud check isn't the right word to use, but this could be an eye-opening performance where Cejudo says, hey, I might have lost to the best guys, but all of these other guys, come on, listen, man, I'm still here. I don't think he's the type of fighter who would really be washed past his prime completely and still be willing to put himself out there. I think the ego is so large that he wouldn't be willing to put himself in a compromising position. Is that a good way to determine a fight outcome? What do you think?
I mean... Is it a good way to determine a fight outcome? I don't know, because I do think a lot of stuff goes into that, Derick. I personally think Cejudo would push past that. I'm washed out. I'm a little tired. Yeah, I'm going to train as hard as I can. We've seen all the things Cejudo does, right? He's triple cringe for a reason. He's going to be boisterous. He's going to be putting stuff out there. I'm not sure he's willing to let go of that limelight, that fact. I mean, we even saw him post on social media. If you checked it out, he was posting things that Song is small. He's like, oh, he's a lot smaller than I expected. He's got like 3 inches on you. High difference was very easily watched. Cejudo loves the limelight. He loves to talk his shit, and I do think he has to hold on to something to be able to fulfill himself as a man. I mean, shit, we all have to, but I do think Cejudo might push himself past just a little bit until he starts getting starched consistently, and then he's out the door.
That's the triple cringe coming out, you know what I mean? But the competitor, to be an Olympic champion to that caliber, you know what I mean? I think that there's a little something on the inside here. So I think that this is going to be a way more competitive fight than what the line indicates. But I think Song is the smart bet right here. My only last consideration before we move on, man, because I'm with you on under 4.5, which again, let me see what it's currently tracking at right now. Currently tracking under 4.5 is plus 155. But the over is minus 210. And it really did make me consider, can Song hurt Cejudo, but just not put him away and still get the nod? I mean, likelihood, what do you think?
I think so, Derick. And where it comes down, let's say Song hurts Cejudo, middle of the fight, right? Round 2, round 3, somewhere like that. But Cejudo still has enough composure and mental capacity to be able to just wrestle, just defensive wrestle, keep the pressure on Song, put him up against a cage, whatever the case is, and not allow Song the distance to be able to do even more damage. I still think that's there, especially with how talented of a wrestler Cejudo is.
Yeah, it's an interesting take right here. I was thinking a little bit more like Cheeto Rob Font, where it's like Rob Font is out striking and doing that stuff, but Cheeto was able to just drop him a couple times and you clearly win on the cards. Like I was thinking something more like that. We'll see what happens. This will be interesting. What's clear is that we're both on the Song side, and it's fair. Are we consensus under 4.5?
Under 4.5 all day.
All right, that's the play right there for you guys, folks. So me personally, I stay away from the Song line. It's just too steep for me, but I will play that under 4.5, and we'll see how that goes on. New generation of the bantamweight division right here, and should be a fun one for your main event. UFC Seattle, baby. Let's go. All right, man. Rematch time. AJ Brendan, All-In Allen versus Fluffy Hernandez. Hey, another one. Let's talk about it straight off the bat because this makes me nervous. Minus 330 for Fluffy Hernandez. AJ, he won the first fight. This is true. They did fight back in like 2018. I'm going to say something like that, right? This is a stupid line. This is a silly, silly line right here based on the skill set of both of these guys, in my opinion. I love the hype on Fluffy. I love the cardio machine, but I think they're both equally good wrestlers, even though Hernandez did get the best of the scrambles in the first fight. What do you think about the line, and why is Brendan Allen discounted so much? This is a discount buy right here.
This is an absolute discount buy right here. I was thinking the same thing, Derick. Like, yeah, the fight was close. I do think the right guy won, even though Brendan Allen still has a bunch of comeback that he thinks he won that fight. Why is he discounted though, man? I'm not really sure. I was looking at his previous fights, right? You look at Brendan Allen, the Imavov fight. He says he won that one as well. That one's a lot closer, a little bit contested. But then after that, just dub after dub after dub for his last 5. And then on the other side, Fluffy Hernandez, 5-0 streak, at least in his last 5. Like, this guy is very talented. I think one thing that a lot of the odds makers are looking for, Fluffy Hernandez is able to get more knockouts, right? He's more well-versed, at least in the way he's finishing people. Whereas Brendan Allen, you're getting a sub or you're losing a decision. Could be something to play into. I mean, I think Brendan Allen has some absolute pop on his shots. The one thing that does worry me is the combos and the technical fluidity that Fluffy Hernandez presents. I think he's a little bit more of a well-rounded and polished fighter.
I don't know, man. It's kind of the same on both sides because Brendan Allen versus Imavov, when he couldn't get the takedown, the fight was pretty much over. You know what I mean? Like, let's be fair and let's be honest in this critique, right? Like, striking alone for Brendan Allen, if you can't mix up the takedowns, things get a little bit funny. But the same thing for Hernandez, man. Hernandez's whole entire shtick is I'm going to put something out. I'm not going to throw hard, but I'm going to volume you up, trap you against the cage, and I'm going to shoot. And I'm going to do that, like Marab style, a million times in the fight. And you're just going to get tired, and I'm not. And Brendan Allen is kind of a similar thing. I just think that Fluffy Hernandez does have a little bit of a better gas tank right here. The interesting thing, though, is if you look at the props on this one, let me just make sure that I'm correct here. Yeah, knockout prop for Fluffy is plus 550. However, the submission prop on him is better than Brendan Allen, too. When you would think the submission prop probably should go to Brendan Allen and the knockout prop, I can see that for Fluffy, but a cardio knockout type situation right here. If we're making money on any of these fighters and you're looking to do something aside from the money line, because you do not bet Fluffy Hernandez here at steeper than minus 300. We don't bet that, but I can definitely see that decision prop. Where do we at right here for the decision? Points, plus 105. That's the prop that I'm looking at. I'm staying away from everything else right now for the consideration of this conversation. We'll talk about what we actually think in a minute, but decisions on both sides. Who's the more value play?
Decision, more value play definitely has to go to Hernandez because I'm thinking about the gas tank right here. Brendan Allen, he doesn't look 3 rounds only. Yeah, it's only 3 rounds. I don't know, but I still think the gas tank that Fluffy Hernandez has going forward. He's able to keep the same pace the entire fight. Brendan Allen, he might get a little tired. He's slowed down just a little bit. It's not going to be this drastic drop-off he has. But I do think the quickness that Hernandez is able to put into all of his movements, that's probably going to give him a harder time. Plus 150, at least on the open for the decision odd, makes a lot of sense for Hernandez. I think that's the best way to make money for him. I mean, do you see that plus 425 knockout even happening? Did we even come close to a knockout in this fight?
Yes, absolutely. Depending, right, on the position that they find themselves in. Somebody gets a dominant top position, I can see a finish happening very easily. Brendan Allen, I could see a knockout coming from him more than I can from Fluffy, personally. But that's what's weird, man, is because Brendan Allen is a rear naked choke specialist right there. Fluffy Hernandez, he gets into that control bag too, a little bit more active. The thing that I'm a little bit more interested in, I want your answer to this one, because, again, you look at this fight, you could say it a million times, it's clone matchup right here, just slight differences between the two, and that's why I think it's closer. It's going to be closer than what the line indicates. But last time that Allen had to fight somebody who could match his skill set on the ground, not quite the same, but it was Paul Craig, and he submitted him in the third round of the fight, right? Jiu-jitsu guy, not a wrestler. It's different, right? But for Fluffy Hernandez, if I'm looking in his last five at anybody who even comes close to what it is that he does, like his style of grappling, there's nobody there. Who can Josh Fremd, maybe, and he did go to decision against Josh Fremd. So that's why, again, I don't like how steep this line is. I think this is a dog or pass type fight, to be completely frank with you, meaning that you bet Brendan Allen or you leave this alone. But if we have to make a real play on here, there is one spot where I think that we could make a play, and that's going to be the over and the under. 2.5. Over is minus 200. Under is plus 150, and I know you like a finish here, so let's give the final props on this one. What are you thinking?
I do like a finish here, Derick. I think you roll with the under. Under, is it 2.5?
2.5, yeah.
2.5. It makes a lot of sense to me. The thing that worries me is that late round finish, right? We could see a finish come in the third, right at that like 1.5 minutes left in the fight, and you're still hitting that over mark. We've seen how the trends have been going as of late. Like Derick said, 8 out of 12 hit on the over last card. So it makes sense to me to see the over, especially with how I can see these two styles kind of negating each other. I like the under if it's a fast-paced fight and something crazy happens. But I think more often than not, that over is probably going to hit.
Yeah, I like the over on this one. That is a bet that I would take. Minus 200 for the over 2.5. But again, dog or pass type play right here. For the purpose of our head-to-head competition, I am picking Fluffy Hernandez to win. AJ, you're rolling with Brendan Allen on this one. Fair play. But that's the reality right here. Anything else on this one?
Absolutely, folks. If you're taking Brendan Allen money line all day, I agree with Derick. I can see a knockout coming from him. Don't know if a submission's going to happen right here. Don't know if a decision is either. They're at play, but I think the money line's the best odds.
This is going to be an interesting way to see how the middleweight division shakes up, because I think a win here, a dominant win on either side, can get him right back into that kind of like title territory. Fluffy Hernandez has been fighting for that. He's really more like he gets the big push with the win of Brendan Allen, and it's interesting to know that. Like I said, he already got the win previously on the regional scene. All right, man. Up next, short notice bout. Dominic Cruz. We were supposed to be graced with his presence. Instead, we get Rob Font at catchweight, 140 pounds, I should say, against the undefeated Gene Matsumoto. Apologies if I mispronounced that first name, man, but this is an intriguing matchup. And the reason I say that is because all eyes, in my opinion, from what I have seen, all eyes are on Rob Font. Live dog upset play. Give me your thoughts on that before we jump into it. Currently tracking out plus 130. I will have to say the opening odd on this one was something silly. Yeah, plus 155 for Rob Font. What'd you think of it?
It makes sense why a lot of eyes are on Rob Font, Derick. He's the more well-known name, right? We've seen him fight top-tier opponents consistently for the last, 2-3 years. Not many people know Matsumoto. I mean, you just messed up his first name, brother. I would do the same because I'm not going to say it because I don't know if it's Gene or John. But either way, we're going to know at the end of this weekend, because if he's able to have a star-studded performance against a top-tier opponent that Rob Font is, I mean, we're talking about Rob Font being in title contention not just 2-3 years ago, right? Like, he is that guy, right? But he is also a little more one-dimensional, right? Than we've seen how the UFC MMA has evolved through this landscape. It does worry me as well. I mean, we saw last week, it proved us wrong, but worried. 37 years old, Rob Font coming in, short notice fight, catch weight. Like, how's that weight cut going? How are things happening? There's a lot of X's and O's that worry me about the Rob Font fight, but I do think he's more of a veteran. He's more skilled. He's going to be dialed in that night. Hopefully with the catch weight, he's not too lean, not too, dismantled going into it. But I can see why a lot of people are looking at Rob Font for the upset right here.
I don't like it though, man. I don't like that they're looking at him so much because it makes me feel like it's not as much of a value play as the people who are like in their minds are like, oh man, Rob Font, sneaky vet. You just beat up Kyler Phillips in your last one. You know what I mean? Like everybody is looking at him, and that's causing me to say when everybody zigs, you must zag. And that made me look at Matsumoto a little bit deeper because here's my problem, man. Matsumoto, his last performance wasn't the most impressive. I'll just say that. For like the pedigree of this undefeated guy who's supposed to be coming into the UFC and just shaking things up, like it wasn't as impressive as I thought. Brad Katona, you know what I mean? Come on, I'm just saying, right? But the point that I have here is that there's a real path to victory for Rob Font, like legitimately. Even though John Matsumoto is scary, he's undefeated, he's the young 25 years old, that's like kind of the problem right there. You need a little bit more experience, and if Rob Font can avoid getting taken down, I think that this is a very winnable fight. The problem is, I don't think that he will avoid getting taken down. I think that he will get taken down. I think all it's going to take is a clinch spot from Matsumoto or just a simple blast double to be able to take him down and just steal rounds. That's kind of it. Kyler Phillips couldn't do that because Kyler Phillips, that's not his game, right? A little bit different. But where Rob Font excels is outside range boxing and I would say movement. That's where he excels the best at. Will Matsumoto give him that based on your film study?
Will he give him the ability to keep distance and work range? I don't think so, Derick. I mean, the one thing I like about Matsumoto is he's able to control the range with his kicks, right? He distracts you with them, he gets it going. And then I do think with the ability or the style that Rob Font has, great boxing on the outside, but he likes to crash in, hit you with some combos, and then bounce out and use that movement to get lateral, to avoid things. Well, when you're crashing in on this young, fast striker who does hit really hard, has good boxing, good pressure, and a heavy right hand, it's hard to then exit and then use your momentum, right? I'm with you. I think Matsumoto has the ability to get the clinch going, bully him up against the cage, and use that youth and vigor to be able to dominate this fight. And if we get to the ground, I'm not confident that Rob Font can get back up. I do think he's going to be faster hands, more technical, able to read things and set up traps and find those moments to do some real damage. And as of late, we've seen that moments win fights in certain aspects. So I do see a path where Rob Font can win, but he needs to stay off the ground. He needs to stay off the cage and don't get controlled.
Picture perfect performance from Rob Font looks like sprawl and brawl round 1, knock him out round 2. That's like that's what I'm looking to do. That's the game plan. When you get punched in the face, whole thing goes out the window though, and things look a little bit different. So I will say my play is on this one because you have a battle of an experienced older boxer in the bantamweight division, but we'll call it 140 because that's what it is, versus the guy who's a specialist. And AJ, I talked to you last week about specialists. I said, hey, Calvin Kattar, this dude's got a solid jab. He could probably outgun the hybrid. Well, that didn't happen. Maybe a specialist doesn't have a place. But I think Matsumoto and his specialty in I'm going to get the fight to the ground, or I'm going to kick, I'm going to crash, I'm going to close the distance, I'm not going to let you box you up. I think that that's going to prevail here. I'm rolling with youth and vigor this week. John Matsumoto, either points or decision. Those are my two plays for you. But minus 155. AJ, am I crazy if I say that I'll bet minus 155 John Matsumoto?
No. Not at all, Derick. I mean, we've seen how exciting is a different word to use, right? Like his last fight wasn't that exciting, but the style that Matsumoto brings is very exciting. I like him at minus 155. Personally, though, I'm rolling with the underdog right here. I'm rolling with the veteran, the time-tested boxing skills, and the ability to know how to win a fight against somebody like Matsumoto. I like Rob Font. Also, plus 700 TKO prop to open all day long. That's his best way to win, right? Like Derick said, sprawl and brawl, get the TKO in round 2. I can very likely see that happening, especially when the young undefeated fighter finally meets some resistance, finally has that guy where he's sitting back thinking, oh shit, this guy's punches hurt. Like, why does he keep hitting me when I have normally the good defense going forward? That's when you find a knockout. That's when the ball starts rolling. I think it's going to be Rob Font.
Next up, AJ, John Silva, Melsik Baghdasaryan. You want to talk about kicks? This is a matchup. Long, wide, rangy fighters, specifically Baghdasaryan, southpaw. I have a lot of hype on this guy. I feel like the regular masses, though, they're saying, John Silva, you just beat up Drew Dober. You've had a couple fantastic performances. Here, you're ready for a big name. And then they give him Baghdasaryan. So my question for you is, when you see Baghdasaryan pop up on the other side of the matchup, are you excited? Do you see a stepping stone? Because the odds makers say minus 550 for John Silva. So in their eyes, this is just a gimme fight. What do you make of it?
No, I am excited to see this matchup, Derick, especially with the way both fighters fight, right? John Silva's a madman, like 100% finish rate or close to 100% finish rate going forward. This guy is an absolute animal, and I think a good way to be able to test his skills, and same thing for Baghdasaryan, right? If they're able to have this highlight moment, go to war, have these intricacies in how they're actually fighting, and we can see that these guys are game, both of them will be elevated. Whoever wins this fight is going to be elevated a little bit more. But if Baghdasaryan, man, he can make some moves and he can show that he's not just going to get walked down by the absolute bully, by the minus 550 favorite. This could be his moment to make things work.
Yeah, man. I mean, Baghdasaryan, he gets a massive opportunity with a big, impressive win here. I don't think so for John Silva, though, man. I think if you win, you must finish him, right? A decision against Baghdasaryan. I think people are going to be a little down on his stock if that happens. And if you lose, it's like, dog, you lost to who? Most of the people probably don't even know this guy's on the roster, which is the sad part. But this is a very, very skilled Armenian fighter, who I think is definitely in a position to make this an interesting fight. So let's talk about the X's and O's, man. Clearly, like I said, John Silva, I mean, look at him, man. Knockout, even money for a knockout on John Silva, bet 100, win 100, plus 700 for a sub, and plus 200 for points. So I actually like this. This is the unpopular opinion that I was going to bring up here, but based on Baghdasaryan's style as a counter striker, it matches John Silva as a counter striker. So they're both counter strikers looking to counter strike each other. So I think that this could actually lead to a little bit of a dud style fight that's going to be hard to find a finish. So I'm actually liking that the odds makers are saying plus 200 for the points right there. I wish it was more value, but I think that their thinking is correct here.
Yeah, no, I do think their thought process tracks right here, Derick, especially if you're a counter striker fighting a counter striker, somebody has to go first, or we have Izzy versus Yoel Romero again, and nobody wants to see that happening, right? I do think, though, with the style John Silva presents, he's willing to go out and throw a couple, to eat a couple, to then hit you even harder going forward. We saw that in his last fight, or not the one against Dober, but the one against Jourdain, right? He's willing to sit in the pocket. He's willing to go through the exchanges. But if you're Melsik Baghdasaryan, you need to be able to deliver those. And then once he counterstrikes after your counterstrike, you need to go back again and be willing to engage again, because that's where you're going to find a lot of success.
And let's not forget, man, how big lightweight, 155 pounds. This is 145 right here. That was a big performance right here. So for him to be able to take a couple of those shots against, even the bigger guys, I know you were talking about Jourdain, but even against the bigger guys and still go in there, cut them up, make them nasty, you have to imagine, Baghdasaryan, if you don't tread carefully, you'll be in a similar position. Now, let's talk about the grappling here. Baghdasaryan, one major flaw, one major hole in his game is just takedown, man. Tucker Lutz was able to hold him down for a very substantial amount of time. And no disrespect, but John Silva, Tucker Lutz, not quite the same level of competition, if you will. So do you see John Silva mix it up and try to go for the sub here?
No, I don't. I think it'd be a smart play. I think it'd be a good thing to do. But I do think the way that John Silva fights, he likes it. He's a wild man. He's willing to go in there and just either die on your shield or you get your hand raised. And I do think we're going to look to see John Silva wanting to have another highlight reel added to his pedigree and then move forward, keep climbing those ranks. Because you're right, he has to finish Baghdasaryan in this fight at these odds, or we're never going to see him at these odds ever again.
Yeah, I would say 4 of his last 5 fights, or they're all knockouts, right? And most of them come pretty early. But again, I just think that the style of the fight right here, Baghdasaryan really has to indulge Silva in order to kind of help him find that finish. And I just don't see it happening here. I think it's a good win. I don't want to say a layup because I'm disrespecting a fighter that I actually really enjoy watching in Baghdasaryan, but let's just say big opportunity. John Silva takes it. Easy consensus pick right here. But I personally, AJ, you might differ with me. I am rocking with that over 2.5 right here. And I think John Silva by points is a very fair play. Plus 200.
I like it, Derick. I like it. I can see a knockout happening here, folks. I do think with the way they're going to engage, it could be a longer style of fight, so the over makes a lot of sense. But with 2 absolute bangers in there, I could see a knockout happening as well.
All right, consensus pick, easy play. All right, AJ, another kind of thrown together bout right here, but to open us up. The atomic one, Alonzo Menifield, he gets the juice box. Julius Walker, UFC debut. All right, man. We just talked about Thaleson Teixeira and what he brings to his division, because look how tall and long and lanky, and this is the Brazilian Stefan Struve. This is 205 pounds, but you got a 6'4" athlete right here in Walker who looks like what I just said, an athlete, bringing something new to the table. But I don't care how athletic you are, man. There's not many people who could eat a clean shot from Alonzo Menifield. You know what I mean? And I think that this fight is a very simple one, man. I think this fight just truly comes down to Will the experience of Menifield and the schedule of fighters that he's fought, because even though it hasn't looked good recently, man, you can't deny him. You fought Jimmy Crute, Dustin Jacoby, Olberg, Mirzakhanov. You fought some names, right? Can Julius Walker rise to the occasion in his debut? I know he was coming off of the regional scene, championships and all that, but can he rise to the level of competition in his UFC debut? Because a win against Alonzo Menifield instantly brings this man into top 15, if not right at the cusp. What do you think?
Oh, absolutely. It brings him right into that cusp, if not into the top 15. Derick, the question I'm struggling with is, can he rise to the occasion? Because I think he has all the skills, all the intangibles to do it. But when you're in there, UFC debut, big lights on you, you're at UFC Seattle now, you're not even fighting in the Apex anymore. It's a lot, man. It's a lot. And the style that Walker has, right? He's going to try to walk you down, hold you down against the cage, look for a submission. In those transitions with the power that Menifield presents, it worries me, right? All you need to eat is one, and you're going night, man. Alonzo Menifield, even though he's got knocked out in his last two fights, look at the opponents, Mirzakhanov and Olberg, right? They hit hard, they're fast, they're able to do things. And yeah, as athletic as Julius Walker looks, sometimes looks can be deceiving because I don't know if he has the pedigree of talent behind him to be able to provide that kind of athletic style of fight against Menifield, who is very athletic and massive as well.
And dog, that Carlos Olberg fight, that was, to me, just poor game plan. He just rushed in and got knocked out immediately, but it was just it was silly. Like, if you watch it, you'd be like, "This, am I getting punked right now? Like, how did this fight ever take place this way?" But I do agree, man. Julius Walker has tools, right? Intriguing tools, which make him like a fun addition to the division. I just don't know if this fight he rises to the occasion. So I'm going to go Alonzo Menifield, and I think this is a pretty simple one, man. I think that if Walker has to take him down, and he can't end up on his back. No on-your-back submissions because you get knocked out that way, and you got to keep distance or else. I think Alonzo Menifield. I think he just knock out. Easy, under 1.5. That's my bet on this fight. What do you make it?
I mean, I've been actually very back and forth on this one, Derick. There's a long time I was looking at Menifield. I'm not a big fan of betting on UFC debut, people making their UFC debut, right? Like, it's worrisome. It's a big jump going forward. And especially with how he likes to fight, I can see Walker actually going in there and looking to make some moves, looking to hold him up against the cage, but then actually getting caught. So it does worry me a little bit. I like the 1.5, the over as well. If Julius Walker is able to keep his composure, keep his distance, use his height to an advantage, and then when Menifield's gas tank really starts to drop, then he goes in and starts making the moves, I think it's going to be more beneficial for him. That's why I like the over 1.5. Minus 110 makes a lot of sense to me. As far as props, though, I mean, you're looking at a plus 750 submission, maybe. Plus 600 decision. Both of those make a lot of money. I do think the decision might be more inclined right here. I don't know if he has the ability. Well, we'll see if he has the ability to finish Alonzo Menifield.
I don't want to burst any bubbles here, but Julius Walker has seen the outside of the first round one time in his short 6-0 career. So, yeah. If the fight goes long, I think I like Menifield in this one, even given the circumstance. Listen, I bet on Menifield a ton, and I've lost a ton on Alonzo Menifield. But I'm going back to the well, baby. Let's go. Knockout, round 1, easy call. That's your main card breakdown, folks. But the fun does not finish there. We got some bonus plays here for you. So we focused a lot on the main card, right? But there's some prelims that are interesting to talk about. Really, it's still going to be a couple main card plays. So, AJ, let's not mince any words. Let's jump into the exclusive bonus plays only for the people watching this show. This does not go out on social media or any short clips.
And now, the Bloody Water Podcast presents your Fight Night bonus plays.
We'll start it off with an easy one right here, man. First one. Ibo Aslan versus Iwan Cutelaba over 1.5 at minus 110. Talk to him, AJ.
Minus 110 for over 1.5. A lot of KOs on both sides, but Cutelaba is the best opponent Aslan has faced here, right? If Aslan is as good as he looks, as of late at least, Cutelaba usually has longer fights going with more talented opponents. That's why I like the over at this, especially at minus 110. You're basically even money right here, so I do like this one a lot.
I think the experience of Cutelaba makes him just grapple the whole entire first round and just say, like, I'm going to at least gas you out before we start standing. Because if he trades with Ibo Aslan, we already saw how that went against Rafael Sequeira, right? Undefeated dude, knocks everyone out, and it's first to get touched, pretty much. So that should be an interesting one. All right, to our co-main, Brendan Allen versus Anthony Hernandez, number 2, going the distance, minus 170. I like the play. Talk to him.
Very talented grapplers right here, folks. We talked about it. We can see things extending because of how these guys are going to be fighting. It's going to be whose skill is able to cancel out each other, but then maintain the other rest of the skills going forward. I think this is going to lead to a lot longer of a fight. That's why I like the distance. I mean, we were talking about it before. The over for this one, minus 260 for over 1.5. I think there was some other props going around too, but you're looking at good odds right here if this one goes the distance.
All right, next up. I'm going to call this one the live dog parlay. You got Rob Font and Brendan Allen. Combine them together for a stupid plus 736 comeback, bro. Live dog that could absolutely hit. Like, realistically, both of these could hit. This is a live dog in name, but not in like heart and character. Talk to him.
Absolutely, folks. I label this one the underdog play as well. I mean, huge payout if these guys win. We talked about it before. There's methods to both ways each guy can win. It's if you're willing to put some money on a parlay right here. I mean, it's possible, especially for a plus 736 payout. At least throw a little bit of cash on this one.
Man, $5 and see what you net back. You know what I mean? All right, and then the last one here. I don't agree with it, AJ. We just talked about it, but you have to discuss it anyways. John Silva versus Melsik Baghdasaryan. Fight ends in a knockout, minus 120. I like it for just the viability on both sides, but talk to him.
Both fighters right here, folks. I mean, we were just talking about this. You already know are wild, crazy power. 16 combined knockouts, with specifically Silva having a KO prop being minus 125 when I was looking at this. So you have a more opportunity to hit on it with a better odd, and you can still cash out right here. Minus 120 looks like the fight can end in a KO. A lot of people are expecting it. That's why the odds makers have this at minus money. Right? I mean, we just talked about how much we're looking at other things right here, but I do think there's some eyes to keep on this one.
All right, well, those are 4 plays. Again, Cutelaba, Ibo Aslan over 1.5. Brendan Allen versus Anthony Hernandez to go the distance. Rob Font, Brendan Allen, live dog parlay. And then fight to end in a knockout, John Silva versus Melsik Baghdasaryan. AJ, what is the official UFC Seattle bonus play?
Officially, Derick, we're rocking with Ibo Aslan versus Ion Cutelaba over 1.5 at minus 110. Basically even money, like we're saying. You're getting paid out right here, and I do think the wrestling Cutelaba is going to go miles in this fight.
I won't lie to you. It makes me nervous, but I think this one is going to hit, folks. So, hey, tap it in. Jump in now. We always tell you guys, jump in as soon as you hear this, because these lines are ever shifting, and our job is to get you the line while it still has juice on it. So, with that being said, that's your bonus play. Lock it in. But now, for the most important segment of the program, talking about the unknowns of today, but the stars of tomorrow. This was slim pickings, folks. UFC Seattle, this card fell apart, got rebuilt, fell apart again, and then we just had scraps left over. But we still got some fun matchups here.
It's time for some fight night.
And if you ain't paying attention, you're going to sleep on me and I'm going to wake you up. AJ, you have a particularly fun matchup in the middleweight division. Talk to the people.
Very fun matchup right here, folks. Mansour Abdul Malik versus Nick Klein. If you're not familiar with the names, don't worry, you will be here soon enough. Abdul Malik, fast, powerful, with a 100% finish rate, fights with the confidence of an undefeated fighter because he is. You got Klein, right? Pressure wrestler who is extremely dangerous submissions. Here's what you need to know, folks. 12 combined finishes. Abdul Malik has majority KOs, while Klein has majority submissions. Whoever is able to get in their bag first might just steamroll the other fighter, so make sure you tune in. Don't blink on this one. It could end fast, or it could be an absolute dogfight. Either way, it's going to be fun to watch.
You know it's a good sleeper because I was mad when I saw you put it in the chat, and I was like, dog. I thought I'd put it in earlier, so when I saw it, I was like, oh, he took my sleeper, and I was like, oh shit, I didn't post it. That's a good one, folks. Tap in right here. All right, I had to get the leftover sleeper, but it's still going to be a fun one. First fight of the night, folks. You know what our rule is. If your first fight of the night, banger alert. It has to be. You start off the show with the bang. We're highlighting the guy who I was just talking about a second ago. Rafael Sequeira, right? The Brazilian dude came into the UFC 11-0, knocking out everybody. He has 11 wins, 8 first-round finishes, but he's coming off of his first career loss in his UFC debut, where the man got starched by Ibo Aslan. Chip on your shoulder, bulletin board material. And who is he trying to get his get back on? Modestas Bukauskas, man. The man is 4-4 in his UFC career. He's on his second stint. And realistically, man, this dude has, 16 wins? 12 of his 16 wins by finish, but in the UFC, it's hard for him to find the finish. So you have the grizzly vet, or the grizzled vet, I should say, who's looking to really knock down this young comer who thinks that he's all that in a bag of chips, but then you got to deal with the chick on the shoulder and Cejudo looking for the knockout. I don't think this fight lasts long, to be completely frank with you guys. That's why it's my sleeper. That's why it's the first fight of the night, and that's why it's a 205-pound light heavyweight bout. One other reason is because they try to get some of that stuff out early. You know what I mean? Who knows? It might go long, but I don't think it will. So that's your sleeper, folks. Tap in. All right, man. Fun one, right, AJ? Those are both some fun matchups. I like that. Aside from that, because we don't really have a lot of other matchups to talk about, unfortunately, we're just going to jump straight into the mailbag. Brother, let's talk about it. All right, man. Short one. We have 4 questions today. And AJ, you know how it goes. I'm going to bring it up. Let's give our takes on it. The first one is coming from Cejudo's Belly. I like that. I actually like that username. So this is what we're saying. All right, so we're really acting like John Matsumoto, who just went life and death with Brad Katona, should be a minus 200 favorite over Rob Font, who just ran through Kyler Phillips and sent him running back to the MMA lab. Some harsh critique right here, but to be fair, Rob Font is no longer that much of a dog, or I guess I should say Matsumoto is no longer minus 200 if he ever was. Minus 155 is where he's sitting. You do not bet Matsumoto at anything near minus 200, but we do like minus 155. Yeah, I mean, AJ, we covered this earlier, but talk to him.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's why, especially when this is written, that's why the odds started to shift in a different direction. Like Matsumoto at minus 155, I do think Rob Font deserves a lot more respect than a lot of people are giving him going forward, and that's what he has to bring. I mean, so when you're a dog, what else do you have to do besides show up and show everybody else that this isn't what they should be working with? This is Rob Font's time to actually prove that he is still very elite.
Well, I think that's kind of the sentiment of the question, right? To even have people being like, so, like, am I the only one who sees it? No, you're not. Like, we see it, right? We're there with you. We're just as surprised to see him be a dog like this. And this is the recency bias of the machine that is the UFC. So, again, should be a much closer fight, but we'll see what happens. Next one. Oh, AJ, this is some breaking news. Let's talk. All right, maybe a hot take, but I can't even blame Topuria. It's much more interesting seeing how he'll do at 155 rather than him going on a streak against a bunch of guys that aren't as good as Volk or Max. So Volkanovski or Max Holloway. Diego Lopez, he's the only interesting matchup left there, and why bother if he's just planning on vacating anyways? So, full context, right? Ilia Topuria, he says, I'm done at 145 pounds. Keywords Dana said, Ilia Topuria feels like he's done enough in his division. He feels like he's hit the ceiling and there's nothing else that he can do, so he can't make the weight anymore. He's just going up right here, and Makhachev is probably the fight that we're going to see. AJ, what do you make of the news? This is breaking. Talk to him.
Huge news. I was looking at this the other day when Dana was talking about it, man. It's crazy to see that everybody just wants to get their bag and run. Don't get me wrong. I mean, you know, sometimes you want to cash in, hit the casino table and dip whenever you made your cash, and that's it. I mean, long have been the days since the greats of where I'm just going to absolutely run through the division. Don't care who you line up in front of me. I'm going to knock them down. Now everybody wants to be the double champ, wants to be the triple champ going forward. That's what Ilya is looking to do. The thing is, though, these people hit a lot harder at the weights the more you go up. So it's going to be interesting to see how it happens. I personally think Diego Lopez would give Ilya a hell of a run. Ilya might win that fight, but it'd be debatable for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest with you, man. I think Ilya probably smokes him. You know what I mean? Listen, you got Diego Lopez versus Volkanovski for the featherweight championship right here, and the sad part is it does feel a little 205-esque once John Jones started getting in trouble. Where Cormier, they're like, oh, Cormier, you're the champ, but we know you're not the guy. That's why John Jones, Demetrius Johnson, Amanda Nunes, Valentina Shevchenko, Joanna Jędrzejczyk. I know some of those names aren't nearly as good as some of the other ones, but in terms of just like running your division, yeah, I don't know if we're going to get too many more of those. Good question, though. That was a good one. Or not, I guess not quite. It was a hot take. That was a hot take, but I enjoy it. All right, MMA throwaway. Another breaking news. AJ, Austin Vanderford, the longtime Bellator contender. Austin Vanderford, he's finally getting the call from the UFC. Short notice versus Veretnikov, who's a Sambo guy looking for his first UFC win. Any shot, Vanderford shakes up the division. So we actually didn't talk about this matchup so far. And let me see. Did they even... they do finally have it listed on ESPN. So Veretnikov, AJ, do you remember in his fight, that was that Danny Barlow fight where Danny Barlow, he starts the wrestler, I think with the broken hand, or maybe this was before the broken hand, but that was his debut. Now they're throwing him to Austin Vanderford, or maybe they just put it together because UFC Seattle fell apart. But what do you make of this? Can Vanderford make a run?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Vanderford can make a run right here. This is his moment, man. We're seeing a lot more. And I mean, Dana White even leaked the photo. Pitbull's in the mix for the next card coming up. But now we're starting to see a lot more of these Bellators, a lot more of these other fighters coming over to the division. Time's going to tell. I mean, I think Vanderford can. The problem is, does he have that same pop on his shots he's been having previously? We'll see if he can get it done.
Good news, he's only 34. You know, he's not like an old man, really. You know, at his weight class too, right? Because this is a 170-pound fight or 175-pound fight. It's a catch weight of some degree, right? Yeah, I think Austin Vanderford, this is the opportunity to capitalize. It's just a shame for these guys, man. Even MVP, where you're like, could you imagine what you would do if you were here 5 years ago, 7 years ago? You know what I mean? Something like that. But versus Veretnikov is technical, man. And he's sneaky. And he's got the good grappling and the good judo. He's a favorite for a reason, minus 120. We'll see what Vanderford can do. This is a short notice fight, so I do not expect to see him at his best. That's the thing. It might take this fight, and then, you know, you get acquainted, and now you're ready to go. So we'll see what happens there. Vanderford, that'll be a fun one. All right, next one. This is some more breaking news. Inter_Fool. Alexa Grasso versus Natalia Silva just announced. Who y'all got? UFC definitely wants to push Silva to a title shot. And I agree, AJ. Yo, did you see that Silva opened up as like a minus 200 favorite over Grasso? First off, if lines are open now, you bet Grasso all day. What are we talking about? But take that with a grain of salt because I haven't broken down the film or anything like that yet. I just saw it and I was shocked. I was like, yo, that's that call to hospital, but not for me. You know what I mean? Or call to ambulance, you dig? But not for me. That's the sneak attack. Hey, man, what does Alexa Grasso got to do to earn some respect? You beat Valentina Shevchenko. I have a trilogy with her. And now you're a dog against Natalia Silva, who's still a contender? What do you make of it?
Yeah, wild, Derick. Like you said, if those lines are open, you put some money down on Grasso if she's an underdog right here, because that's what I'm looking at instantly. Like you said, we haven't reviewed film or anything on that going forward, but just from recent memory, I mean, Alexa Grasso, she's on top of her game right now. She's the one that has the bag. Natalia Silva's trying to chase it. I mean, that's wild that she's an underdog. I definitely put a lot of money on Grasso, at least right now. We'll see how it shakes out when the fight gets down.
Who you got?
Alexa Grasso, all day.
There we go. Listen, Shevchenko beat her with wrestling. That's not Silva's game. You know what I mean? So it's going to be a Taekwondo fighter versus a boxer. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, put some respect on Alexa Grasso, but that's a good way to end it, man. A lot of breaking news, a lot of more fights announced. But our main focus today was UFC Seattle, folks. That's your program. AJ, we all good?
Yes, sir. Let's go make some money this weekend, folks.